good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Y'all know the vibes. Your boy Robbie back to do this reaction. This one is going to be coming from Hello Yassine. Charlamagne will never recover from this. Now, I don't know what this is that he did that he can't recover from, but just like y'all, we going to find out. I have to say I am one that has been following Charlamagne for a very long time, since his time when he first got to the Breakfast Club, when he used to be on Vlad early on in the 2010s and stuff like that. And so he's definitely definitely a character, I'll say that. You know, one hell of a, entertainer in his respected space. I'll give him that. But let's not waste no time. Let's see what this video is talking about. Let's get to it.
What's poppin', y'all? It looks like Charlamagne, you know how they say it takes like 20 years to build a good reputation, but you can ruin it all in 20 minutes? Maybe we should turn it into 20 days, and he's going to nail himself to the cross, metaphorically speaking, for none other than Jay-Z. And we have got some crazy new developments as of late. So obviously this all kicked off when Charlamagne months ago was notifying, quote unquote, academics or people of things that were coming down the pipeline. And then Academics TV side account starts an onslaught on Charlamagne of his old accusations. But recently they've been trying to patch things up, more so on Academics' end. And while Academics was in Miami, he would talk about how weird it was that Charlamagne was trying to have a conversation, but wasn't trying to do it live.
Charlamagne been trying to all right, let's find the next way to, kind of become like a bigger commentator and a bigger figure. And it's politics. Like, Charlamagne's a political. You get what I'm saying? But he wouldn't be saying nothing to me if it was I was like super pro-Democrat. But because I'm not super pro-Democrat, that's why he came with his thing that he had no proof of. I'm like, yo, come on, bro. Come on. You feel what I'm saying? Yo, the craziest thing too, when I started hearing even Charlamagne talk about, Charlamagne talk about like steak. I'm like, yo, bro. This is what I'm saying. Charlamagne got let's sit down. We got to do it on both our platforms. Let's sit down and really talk about it all. Because I want to look Charlamagne in his eyes and say, how you got so much opinion about steak, or what you think steak is doing, or what you think crypto gambling is, or whatever you think it is. But you showed up there for Jay-Z when he was about to get a bid for the casino in Times Square, and you gave a speech on his behalf. I'm listening to this new podcast. Charlamagne's like, yo, this is influencing the kids. You tried to get a casino in the middle of Times.
So it makes him look like he's being hypocritical, basically, because he's saying one thing about steak and, what it is, but then turn around and speak on Jay's behalf about a casino in Times Square. Okay. I can see how some may say that that's very hypocritical, but yeah, let's continue.
Square, bruh, stop it, bro. We gonna have to, bro. I'm telling you, I'm looking at him like, yo, it was music to my ears when Charlamagne said, "Nah, act, we gotta talk about it." I've been trying to talk about it. You don't gotta. I want to talk publicly because I don't have no secrets with nobody. Charlamagne gave a speech. Yo, imagine me giving a steak speech. Yo, hey, listen. Yo, Charlamagne gave a speech, gang. Now he's over here talking about, the kids is getting influenced by gambling, by streamers.
Now, this is hypocrisy, because keep in mind, this is, at this point, it was just hypocrisy. Keep in mind, Charlamagne was all about this mental health stuff. I don't know where that went. He was all about this therapy stuff. I mean, listen, when you're talking on behalf of a casino, I would think that
You know what I find interesting, and some of y'all may agree with me, you have never heard mental health more than you've ever heard it 20, 30 years ago. In the past 6, 7 years, the word mental health is being thrown around like a frisbee. Everybody's talking about mental health. You didn't hear so much about people's mental health 30 years ago. And this isn't to say that it wasn't something that was a thing, but it's even more of a thing now. One would have to ask the question, why is that? Why is mental health talked about so much amongst all cultures? It's not even just one demographic of people, it's everybody. It's
That's
crazy.
done a lot more harm to people's mental health than it has done positive. I don't think anybody's ever come out of a casino and their mental health has gone up. Now, maybe they might have been happier for that moment if they won, but overall, over a long period of time, you would assume therapy would help somebody, but on a long enough timeline, I don't think casinos help people. So that's just a little bit of
It just fuels that addiction of just wasting money that you really don't have to blow. Unless you are, I would even say if you're a millionaire, why would you even be blowing your money? Now, make no mistake, I do be tapped in to some of DDG's live streams, and he be on stake, playing those games and things like that. And it's interesting. I don't stay for the whole thing, but gambling is a real thing. Everything has turned into gambling, even so much as sports has become gambling.
On Charlamagne's behalf. But what does that tell us? Well, we would learn a bit more because Wayno, who is strongly affiliated with Rock Nation for 20 plus years, I think he worked there or he worked at Rockefeller. He's been favorable towards them. And I would say he is a Jay-Z fan, a pure glazer of Jay-Z. I wouldn't put him there. But he would make a revelation that shocked everyone, that nobody knew, or almost nobody knew, was that he was saying, well, Charlamagne wasn't actually going over there for Jay-Z to speak on Jay-Z's behalf. He was speaking on his behalf for the casino because he had a financial interest in that. And nobody knew that. And somebody else, Traplo Ross in this case, would go through and review some of the things that Charlamagne was saying in regards to the casino. And I can't believe I missed this. We knew that he was talking about wanting Jay-Z to get the casino at the time. But looking back at it with the context that we have now, this is hilarious, especially with the Rock Nation and Charlamagne affiliation, because they keep trying to hit academics with, oh no, the politics, and oh no, the crypto, and oh no, the casino. Meanwhile, his mans, who he's on the podcast with, was sponsored by a crypto casino. Then he starts talking about Polymarket, which, what does Polymarket have to do with anything? Like Blackboy Max did a sponsored stream segment with Polymarket. Francis Ngannou was walking out with a gigantic Polymarket chain in his most recent fight, the UFC event that they had. And it wasn't a UFC event. It was a fighting event on Netflix that was hosted by Jake Paul? Yeah, during that event. So everybody's, what is this guy talking about? And there's no whatever's going on with that has nothing to do with academics. And this was after the first thing that they tried to come with was some getting paid by politics when he was getting checks for having streamed on Rumble. Like, what the hell is this nonsense? We would get some Birdman-like activities, and I'm talking very Birdman-like activities from Charlamagne when this was first going on.
They're only giving one gaming license to New York City, and Hove wants that license.
Yeah, that needs to happen. I mean, that has to happen. Like in the letter, Rock Nation states there's no...
That needs to happen. Look at him rubbing his hands together like Birdman. He thinking he getting paid already. He already spent the money in his head. Yeah, that needs to happen, man. Yeah.
It's a funny thing, too. I noticed Charlamagne was at that pop-up for the Reasonable Doubt 30th anniversary pop-up shop. And he definitely was in there getting all of his memorabilia and things from that album. And so he probably got the Rock Nation family discount. But yeah, you already know what time Charlamagne is on. That he's a Rock Nation representative. He is basically an ambassador for them. So everything that they do, they can't do no wrong. So if Jay wants to get into making a casino, I'm gonna sign off on that because it's Jay-Z. You feel me? Now everybody else, I don't really rock with too many of y'all like that. And the thing about it is, we all know that DJ Academics is a Drake fan. Drake and Jay-Z aren't really on good terms right now. So, yeah, Charlamagne's looking at that like, you collaborate and doing any type of sit-down interview, it could be bad for business, especially with who I represent. So, I can't really rock with you like that. So I'm going to just keep moving the goalposts. I'm going to just keep stalling.
Yeah, that needs to happen. That needs. Let me just put a little something in your drink. Yeah, all the drinks that you could spike at this casino.
No better location for a Caesar's Palace entertainment destination in Times Square, and I couldn't agree more. Because the reality is, there's nothing in Times Square right now. Like the biggest attraction.
There's nothing in Times Square. Don't get me pissed off. Times Square. There's nothing in. Are you kidding me? Do you think we're dumb? This guy thinks we're dumb. This guy thinks we're dummies. This guy thinks we're dummies. There's no. This man just said there's nothing in Times Square. There's not that. What the f are you talking about?
Well, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't been back home in New York since 2023 when I got my Lexus or whatever. Is there anything to do in Times Square? I know they got rid of the big Toys R Us years ago, so that's gone. A lot of businesses, I don't know if that Forever 21 is still out there. It's been a minute. I haven't been to Times Square in a very long time. But I would imagine when I go on the internet and I see Times Square now, you usually just see a bunch of NPCs running around Times Square, or a bunch of playable characters just running around in costume and cosplay and doing all types of crazy stuff. I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, what is there to do in Times Square besides just see the lights and stuff like that?
Popeyes. There's nothing in time. There ain't nothing in Times Square. There ain't nothing in Times Square. Times Square ain't what? Ain't nothing to do in Times Square.
I think he might be referring to or coming from a space of there being something to do as far as entertainment, something that will pique people's interest. You don't really have that, I think, in Times Square anymore. And so I don't think gambling is the best solution neither, because we don't need people gambling their money away. Life is a gamble already. We don't need people gambling away their money.
Ain't Jack shit. I ain't taken one step. I ain't taken one step. AP Swatch. But ain't bro, ain't nothing going on down here. There's more going on in Bognor Regis, where I'm from. Ain't nothing. Couldn't get tickets to nothing in Times Square. I'm bored. There ain't nothing to do in here. What's nothing to look at. I'm so unstimulated right now. I'm so bored. What is this guy is a idiot? No, he's not an idiot. He's a liar.
Now this is hilarious. Like, just seeing him talk about, Times Square needs this. Number one, what the hell does Charlamagne know about what Times Square or New York needs? Charlamagne is from Charleston, South Carolina. This guy's from South Carolina. He didn't move to New York until he was over 30 years old. So it's not like this guy, you can't even say, oh, now, he spent 10 years here. And then after, when he turned 11 or 12, then he moved to New York. He grew up there. Or you could even push it as far as saying, he went to college in New York. No, this guy came into New York and he was living in Jersey at the time. I don't know if he's still living in Jersey. So this guy's not even living in New York City. And he's talking about, this is what New York needs. And then Traveler Ross was hilarious here, talking about nothing in Times Square. Everyone avoids Times Square because you can't put your foot anywhere because it's constantly packed all year. One of the biggest tours, there's everything in Times Square except the casino. He's like, what is there even in Times Square? There's everything in casino. And then the crazy.
I mean, in Times Square, there's the option to shop. There's eateries, things like that. But that's about it. You might, that's pretty much it. It's a tourist spot. So there's stuff where you can buy memorabilia, like New York postcards and stuff like that. But if we just talking about like an arcade, there used to be an arcade in Times Square. It's not there anymore. This was back in like the early 2000s. Me and my father went there once. It was called Broadway. It was a casino, not a casino. It was an arcade. It was pretty cool. It was pretty dope. I don't even think that's not even there anymore. So in terms of a place where, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I haven't been home in a long time, in years, so I don't know. But just from what I know, there's nothing recreational for people to do for real in Times Square. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think gambling is the solution either. New York City doesn't need a casino. period.
His part is like, when you look at this next segment, it sounds like he's reading an ad.
There's nobody in New York that could get a casino license that could attract a diverse crowd of people from all over the world that Sean Carter would.
Now, the proposal, as Charlamagne said, they want to give back to all surrounding businesses. They want to commit.
I'm confused because where's the ad disclosure? This sound like an ad to me, but I ain't seen any ad disclosure. I ain't seen nothing to say advert, sponsored content, equity owner. I'm not sure because the FTC said that you got to disclose this, but I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing any ad disclosure. I didn't start the video. I said this is paid product placement. This video is still in violation of the FTC guidelines.
Made $115 million for diverse theater programs.
We've heard Charlamagne talk normal, but him talking like this, oh, nobody in the world could get somebody to come like a Sean Carter would. Wait, what? Hold on. There are a lot of other people that could get a global, like Jay-Z is not that big globally. I hope people know that. 50 Cent would be better. You could say Curtis Jackson would do a better job at getting a global audience.
You know, I have no issue with Jay-Z because I've been listening to Jay-Z my whole life. I've said this in other videos, but I think we all have to come to the conclusion that his effect on people, that trifecta effect on people, that Jedi stuff, it doesn't work anymore. Especially when you think about the adults, the young adults today. It's a new wave of adults out here. You have the likes of people that are like my sister's age, 21, 22, who didn't really grow up on Jay-Z like that. My sister was born in 2005, so adults her age and even younger, they got Jay-Z when they were what? Like, what album? Let me see. He had the Magna Carta Holy Grail. My sister and them wasn't listening to that. 444. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wasn't bumping them albums. And then what? The Blueprint 3 came out in 2009. My sister was 4 years old. So they didn't grow up with Jay like that. So the only people that would maybe resonate with is the millennials and Gen X. And yeah, that's it. So people got to stop thinking that and this is no knock to people who are older that, you know, been in the industry, but people treat these, you know, like they God or something. They're not.
To come to a casino in New York than Jay-Z would. But he's reading it like it's some ad copy. And of course, Trapler Ross is saying that he didn't disclose due to FTC guidelines that he had a financial interest in this, as we had found out from Wayno. But academics would come back with some new material, which is actually useful against Charlamagne, and show the discovery that Charlamagne was in fact directly tied to Roc Nation with financial interest in this casino happening.
I go here, doesn't really say anything, but I see Roc Nation. Roc Nation has identified no direct or indirect conflicts or perceived conflicts of interest to exist with respect to this proposal. What is this telling me now? Roc Nation is one of the people who has financial interest if this goes through. But what does this got to do with Charlamagne? So I go down and I say, man, maybe this little birdie that's from Roc Nation who told me, just like, you know, he's just trying to gaslight me. Everybody's gaslighting Big Act now, okay? I see what's going on. They're all gaslighting Big Act. Then I click here. Under Roc Nation, it reads these names: Sean Carter, Desiree Perez, Jana Fleshman, Angela Rye, Alicia Keys, and that's not my mother media goat, Leonard McKelvey, a.k.a. Charlamagne, not under the Roc Nation banner. No, we got him, y'all. We got him, y'all. Chat.
Yeah, so there you go. Now you know that he is an affiliate with Roc Nation. He's one of the pillars. So him sitting with the likes of you and y'all chopping it up when you're a Drake fan, like I said earlier in the video, and him and Drake ain't on speaking terms, they beefing right now, so to speak. Yeah, that's not happening, because it's going to essentially lead down that road where it's going to probably be a conversation about who's the GOAT, this, that, and the third. And I would imagine Charlamagne's not going to want to get into that debacle with you. You know what I'm saying? And this is no knock to Act, but that's really what it is, probably, in my opinion.
I refreshed this page 40 times. I couldn't believe it. No. I refreshed this
40 times, chat. I couldn't believe it. Under Rock Nation, Leonard McKelvey, a.k.a. it says known professionally as Charlamagne the God, according to how they tried to submit this to the New York State government, they claim that Leonard McKelvey was a part of whatever Rock Nation was going to do.
So this is something that does change things
Jay's
a lot.
always gonna
because
follow the money.
for Charlamagne, he was trying to tell academics, yo, Jay-Z's not even... The goofiest thing you could possibly do is say that Jay-Z is not paying attention to what the number one most popular, like, Complex magazine... Like, let's just take a couple of different layers. Jay-Z and Charlamagne are still talking about, yo, why aren't you talking about these Wall Street Journal articles? Why aren't you talking about Inside Magazine, Vibe Magazine posted this, which like, these guys are... So they're looking through that layer, and it's important that we contextualize that because Complex Magazine, which is something that they would be looking at, they ranked academics as, well, like number one, number two for the past 3 years straight. So you're telling me that Kendrick Lamar and Drake, who he was both paying attention to, both mentioned academics in the beef, and Jay-Z, he's just not paying attention to that. Charlamagne's trying to tell, nah, man, he's just not paying attention to you. Seriously? Jay-Z's paying attention to people making comments about his hair, so he drops a hair care routine for 7 minutes, and you're trying to tell us that he doesn't see anything with academics. Like, you must think that we're dumb. And this is the insulting part. Like, he thinks you're dumb. Charlamagne thinks you're an idiot, and you're just going to buy into whatever he says. And that's irritating to me because, listen, I may be dumb, but I'm not that dumb. I try to gas these billionaires, and we have a trillionaire. Elon Musk is a trillionaire in the trenches of X, Twitter, with us. This guy's replying to randoms. And Elon Musk is running, what is that guy running? He's got the SpaceX thing going. He's got Tesla. He's digging holes underground. He owns X. He's doing 50 million things that are more of a cognitive load and take a lot more time and effort. You would think he would have less time than a Jay-Z, who's a billionaire. And we're supposed to believe that Jay-Z doesn't know what's going on, but Elon Musk does. Like, come on, dog. Just stop thinking we're stupid. Michael Rubin, another billionaire. This guy's tapped into everything that's going on as well. All these guys are. They have nothing it's not that they have nothing better to do. It is imperative that they understand what's going on in the public because Jay-Z needed votes in order to get the casino thing to pass. Like, people need to be on his side. And especially if you're getting involved in politics, you need the masses. You can't be like, nah, I'm not interested in what the masses are doing. I'm just a billionaire. Yeah, you can do that if you're not interested in influencing policy, getting votes, or if your clout and power isn't associated with public sentiment. Which,
here's the thing people got to understand about where Jay-Z is mentally. And this is just from my own personal observation. Jay is well removed from his musical self. Now, yeah, he's tapped in right now because Reasonable Doubt just turned 30 years old and Blueprint will be turning 25 years old this year. And so for his loyal supporters from, ages, I would say maybe 30 and up, maybe even 35 and up, that's who he's doing it for. But outside of the music, he is a businessman at this point. He is trying to, reach the likes of an Elon Musk, I would imagine, or a Warren Buffett. And so this is what he's doing. People were in uproar because he decided to partner with Target because the whole program was, hey, we boycotting Target. We not shopping in there. So some may say Jay-Z must have missed the memo, or maybe he did miss the memo, but he's not going to be on board with anything. But he's a businessman at this point, and people got to understand that. So he's going to make whatever plays he's got to make to get to that bag, man.
for Jay-Z, it is. The reason why he got the NFL gig was because he had clout and influence over a demographic. Same situation with the Tidal thing. That's why Tidal got bought out, and he got brought on as a, not advisor, as a chairman No, chairman is the owner. One of the people of the board, yeah, as a board member of Square. That's why he gets everything that he gets. So he needs to pay attention to it. But here, some people will say, yo, this was public information. Well, there's a difference between something being public information, because this is on the New York government website, and it being widespread information. So yes, you could have found this, but nobody thought to look for it. Nobody knew where to look for it. And most people did not know that this was the case. And Charlamagne tries to play it like he's not tapped in with Jay-Z like that. And he's not tapped in with Rock Nation.
He's tapped
and Rock
in.
Nation, we know Rock Nation 100% has issues with academics. He's gone to court over this. They've tried to figure out things that he has to do with Drake over this. So Rock Nation has issues.
And I did not watch this video before pressing play, but just with, being in this space and being a reactor and reacting to so many different videos, you kind of can put the puzzle and pieces together. Academics, he fucks with Drake. And Drake and Jay-Z are not cool right now. Will they ever get back cool? Only time will tell. But for the time being, you the ops, as far as Rock Nation is concerned.
With academics. Jay-Z, he owns Rock Nation, or he's guys. That's his, not man's. That's his woman's, Desiree Perez. She owns that. She hates 6ix9ine, and academics is tight with 6ix9ine. So of course she hates academics too, and he's harming their business interests, or not the personality, the perception of their business interests, such as Megan Thee Stallion, that was supposed to be a massive cash cow for them. So yeah, of course, we know that, but Charlamagne is getting info and he's pretending like he doesn't know where it's from with academics, and Charlamagne is just torching his reputation. Because how can you get financially invested into a casino being built in Times Square, which is only going to harm the people? And he pretends like he's for the people and for mental health, when those two things, mental health and let's talk about cleanliness. Let's talk.
You know why? Because it always comes back to the money. That's all this is about. It's always going to be about the money to these people. They don't really care too much about the likelihood of people's mental state when they go into a casino with their last $100, hoping to hit it big so that they can turn their life around overnight. They don't care that these people are going to lose it all, because it's generating money for the city. And it's likely going to generate money for their pockets, because they, of course, are going to get a percentage of whatever the revenue that the casino brings in. And he's going to get a cut of that. The Breakfast Club, they've completely shifted and moved over to Netflix in order for you to now watch their full-on interviews. So they pretty much killed their YouTube channel. So it's like, these people got to keep money coming in. They got to keep the lights on in their house. So they're going to do whatever they got to do.
Talk about safety. All of these things are not synonymous with a casino in the middle of Times Square. A casino in the middle of Times Square is going to draw a ton of money, sure. And if you're not living around Times, that's why the people that lived in that area said, no, we're not doing this. And the bid went to, I think, somewhere in Long Island. I don't know. But I think Nas ended up winning that. So Jay-Z must have been really salty about that one. I think he won it for Queens or something like that. And then when he talks about jobs that it's going to bring, I wasn't able to find Charlamagne's opinion on what was going on when Amazon years ago, this is many, many years ago. I don't know if it was 10 years ago. I know AOC was.
Yeah, Amazon, they were going to build a warehouse or bring their headquarters there. I remember that. And I think the reason they pulled out of that deal had to do with all of the shoplifting that was going on about a couple years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was literally right after the pandemic. Target up there in Harlem, they closed up shop. They moved on out. So yeah, I think it just had something to do with the politics as well, and things like that.
Very vocal against this because AOC is from New York. But Amazon and Jeff Bezos, they were going to bring a warehouse, a gigantic place that they wanted to put in New York City. I think it was in Queens or something like that. And she was against it. And of course, she's Democrat. Charlamagne is Democrat.
Yeah.
I don't know if he spoke against it. That's something that would have brought a lot of jobs over. And it would have brought a lot solely jobs, not any gambling, nothing like that. Now you could talk about like, oh, they would probably cause displacement, raising the price of rent in the surrounding area. I don't know.
Right.
You could talk about all those other things, but that's getting a little bit too political, which I don't care about. The point is that an Amazon warehouse is a lot better for just jobs, if you want to call it that, than a casino, because a casino is going to bring prostitution. It's going to bring a lot of emotional anger. And so people are going to be getting, you're going to have shootouts, guaranteed, robbery, because people know people are going to have money there. So all of these cons are going to come, a lot of drunk people and people on.
Yeah, you're basically going to turn Times Square back into its old self, you know, with prostitution and things like that. So yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. My son is in the background.
On drugs in that area. I mean, just look at places that have, we got the Hard Rock. We had Offset. This is the Hard Rock in Florida. We're not even talking about Vegas. We had Offset get into a shooting incident with Lil TJ. And those are two celebrities. So this would have just brought chaos. And for a Charlamagne, who is named after an emperor, that's what he named himself, Charlamagne, and he also calls himself Charlamagne the God. It's almost like he told us, hey, look, I see myself as above all of you dirty peasants, and you're stupid enough to believe everything that I'm going to tell you. And I don't think he's going to have this conversation with Academics live. And I think this was the best thing Academics could have done, where he's like, yo, let's stop these back and forth games. You're trying to hit me on my line. He seems scattered, like he doesn't know what to say. And if they're public, we as the public were like, well, why wouldn't you want to have this conversation with him in public? I mean, Lupe Fiasco's having conversations with people in public, even his ops. Hell,
You know, that could very well be because with Academics, he knows that, you know, he's a journalist and his primary focus is music. You know what I mean? Artistry and stuff like that. And so I think for Charlamagne to sit and have a conversation with him, and then they have to get on that subject about Jay-Z and Drake and their whole back and forth, the tension that they got, I just don't think Charlamagne wants to partake in that. You know what I'm saying? He just doesn't want to do that, in my opinion. So that's probably something we are never going to see, at least while Drake and Jay-Z are beefing.
and they're coming at him a lot harder than Academics, who looked up to Charlamagne, would come at him. And this is unfortunate. Charlamagne now, his face card, at least with the general public, is not going to look too good, because even if you support Charlamagne, you look at this and you have to be objective and say, dog, you never told us this. You never told us, yeah, you know, like, I'm involved in this. That's something that you should be disclosing. It's like if, I imagine you got Logan Paul shilling Prime and you don't know that Logan Paul owns a part of Prime, or he has a financial interest in Prime, or Jake Paul shilling Better and you don't know that he's involved with Better. Like, you get a sour taste in your mouth here. What the hell? Especially, and that's the mental health thing about it too. And you're talking about casinos or against casinos. Meanwhile, you're involved in a casino. And we're not going to get into the whole, oh, what's a moral casino? What's an immoral casino? All of these things are legal, like steak, all that other stuff. Those are legal. So I don't see what leg Charlamagne has left to stand on. But we will have to see when he addresses this. But
all right, that's going to be the end of the video. Shouts out to Yassine. Yeah, this situation, in my opinion, is one that's ultimately going to blow over and we'll be on to the next thing. Fine. They want to try to build a casino in Times Square. I don't think that is necessary, but hey, you know, maybe they have a bigger vision or a bigger picture, and Charlamagne wants to be, you know, one of the people that's involved in that. Not necessarily spearheading it, but he wants to be involved with that because he's thinking about his bottom line, you know, his invested interests and what he can get out of it. And so the likelihood of him and Academics sitting, like I said, having a conversation to talk about a whole plethora of things, it's like, we don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? You the ops for real. So we're going to have to put that on pause. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation. If you agree with the whole casino thing, and if, you know, Charlamagne's being hypocritical. I think he is, you know, for you to make comments about steak, but then your name is listed as one of the people in Rock Nation, which is trying to get a casino pushed through for Times Square. Yeah, it makes you look really bad, man. But yeah, like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Make sure you check that like button, take the subway, and be sure to sound off in them comments until your asses get kicked out. That being said, it's your boy Robbie. To the next video, we out.